welcome to another meetup. Today we have a special guest with you, the better half of Flat Out Insights today, Michael Solomon. He's going to be doing the presentation, and I want to invite you guys to check out Take on the World TV. We're live streaming right over there as well, so if you're watching on Facebook, you can jump over to Take on the World TV. But without any further ado, Michael Solomon.
Hello everyone. Trying to stay out of the that looks weird. I am doing, my subject today is on the entitled The Unholy Trinity of Heliocentrism. It's kind of a different view of the whole heliocentric model. What I wanted to do is appeal to everyone's ability to think for yourself, your critical thinking skills, and just acknowledge reality for what it is without all the preconceived ideas and theologies that we have been taught. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, I want to start out with the zetetic method is what I prefer opposed to scientific method, where you formulate a question, perform an experiment, collect data, draw a conclusion, and do not speculate on what the answer might be before testing it out. Okay, so basically, you see it, that's what it is, all right? Now you do some experiments to make sure what you're seeing is what you're seeing, because there are some things like perspective and stuff like that that'll screw with what you're seeing. But for the most part, if that's exactly what you see and that's what it seems to be, that's usually what it is, all right? It's really that simple. So let's go to the next slide. This is the scientific method where you formulate a question, create a hypothesis, measure an experiment, collect data, and modification of hypothesis. That's the part I don't like the most. All right. So first, you create a hypothesis. You know, after you create a question. So you say, okay, how does this work? This is how I think it works. And then you do your experiment, and then based on your data, you modify your hypothesis. That can be done honestly, but there's a lot of room there for a lack of integrity when it comes to discovery, all right? Because then you start to modify your hypothesis based on what you're comfortable with, or based on your group that you're in. Or, you know, if you want to get funded, you know, you better get that hypothesis the way people like it. There have been people, I think there were 2 scientists who found some dinosaur bones that actually had actual tissue in it. Okay, these were dinosaur bones, and they had bone marrow in the bones, and they actually had the audacity to write a paper about it, and it was summarily fired. All right, because they did not toe the company line, and so the scientific method has some room for that type of dishonesty, and so I prefer the zetetic method. It's more honest. Okay, this is an animation that I'd like to show you. It's real basic. This is how you should see your work.
Let's start with the foundation of daily reality. Distance, size, and time has no effect on physics, meaning the basic attributes of creation does not change with circumstances. For example, the characteristics of fire never change. The light of a candle, the warmth of a fireplace, the smoke.
I'm sorry about the volume, but what I'm trying to say is distance, size, and time has no effect on physics. All right, so
Fire is burning.
here are the constant rules of fire. Fire burns, consumes oxygen, produces light, radiate heat, create smoke, extinguish with water. That's it. Fire does that. No matter how big it is, no matter how small it is, it reacts the same way every single time. Okay? And the only way a regular world physics concept changes is if you add in an alien phenomenon or environment, ergo space. So fire works different in space. Light works different in space according to the Earth. Like for instance, we're supposed to be able to see a star trillions of miles away. In fact, the light from that star will actually retain its luminance, retain its brightness, trillions of light years, which is, that's a really, it's so far that you can't even measure it. You can't even create a model to scale. It's so far, okay? So, but light doesn't travel that way. Light works exactly the way these constants are. If you notice this constant right here, the light is brightest here, but as it radiates out, it gets dim very fast, all right? That's how light works. As it radiates from the source, it loses its power very quickly. Light always does that. That's why you have more than one light in a room, okay? Light it dims very quickly. Yet in space, you can not only see a star from trillions of miles away, the light is so bright and it travels so far, you can literally see back in time. That's what these guys tell us, okay? Now, let's think about that. That's crazy talk, okay? But they say it works, and I'll show you how they prove that, okay, Maria? All right, so, now I'm coming from a biblical worldview here, okay? I've studied the Bible my whole life. You have here 240 flat earth doctrine scriptural proofs, okay? This is on Nathan Roberts' site. You can just download this as a PDF and just go through these scripture verses, okay? Now, the reason why I count on scripture because it has never steered me wrong. Never, okay? I know people that, well, the Bible is full of contradictions, it's been manipulated, and I haven't seen that yet. Okay, I'm 57, and I've been studying the Bible, I mean, really getting into it since I was 14. So, it has proven itself to be trustworthy, okay? So next one. So you have all these scripture verses that talks about the world as it exists, okay? Now, I know a lot of people say, well, that's just the Bible. Okay, next one. That's just the Bible, all right? Okay, but here's the cool part about this. You can prove this stuff, all right? So let's go to the next one. Okay, so this video right here, click. This video right here, okay? So these pilots are going crazy because they see the sun under the clouds. That's not possible. The sun is 93 million miles away. Why is it under the clouds? Okay, so they're freaking out. This is not the whole video, but you see their faces like, look at that, okay? Next clip. All right, this is an animation that I created about the moon craters. If you notice, every moon crater is totally symmetrical, okay? It's totally symmetrical. How is that possible if there's meteors and comets flying around all over the place from all different directions, hitting the moon from all different directions, yet every single crater is symmetrical? This is how they should look. So it should hit the surface of the moon and then drag through the soil on the moon and cause these channels. So the moon should be scarred, totally scarred, kind of like the skin of a whale. Okay, totally scarred, yet it's not. Next clip. Okay, so this is another thing. I shot this with the P900. So you can see all these perfect craters here, and yet none of them look like this, okay? They call them craters, but I try not to do that anymore, but hey, free programming, what are you gonna do? But what I'm trying to show you is you read those scripture verses, and then you go out in the world and do some experiments. And go out to the world and do some experiments for yourself. See it for yourself. That's the beautiful thing about scripture, okay? You can actually prove it. So in this fancy case here, I have the P900 camera. I do not have the P1000 yet. Going to get it, it's awesome. But this is the P900. So I shot that shot here with this camera, and that shot with this camera. So the fact that this camera even exists is amazing. So you can go out there and experiment. It's affordable. You can go out there and do the experiments yourself. Okay? So you read scripture, you do the experiment. Next click. Here's a shot that I took on a hill, and you can see all these mountains. This is like 20 miles away. You can see all these mountains. I'm not supposed to see that. All right? So I'm doing this pan. This was in LA. and I'm doing this pan, and there's no way I should be able to see that part. Okay? Yet I do. So someone's telling the truth and someone's lying. All right? I'm going to trust this. Okay? So if I can see it, then they're going to have to prove that, oh, it's an illusion. Oh, come on. You know? So everything is an illusion. All right? And I'm going to talk about that in a second. Next clip. Okay, now these are the different, this is a lighthouse. Okay, lighthouses, according to the heliocentric model, should not work. Okay? Lighthouses are spaced hundreds of miles apart. All right? In order for them to work on the heliocentric model, they should not be spaced hundreds of miles. They should be spaced like 10 miles apart. Okay? But they aren't. You can see a lighthouse from hundreds of miles. These, if you want to know what an ancient society thought, look at their art. If you want to know what an ancient culture, what their culture was about, look at their art. All these different cultures believed in a flat earth with a dome. Okay? All these different cultures. Then you got NASA. Okay? So here, these are corpuscular rays. And I'm just going through this quickly because my point is not, in this presentation, is not to actually go through a lot of proofs, but to show the fallacy of the heliocentric model and how critical thinking can actually tear that apart. So you have here corpuscular rays, all right? In order to have corpuscular rays, you have to have an obstruction, which is clouds, proximity, which is the sun, and particulates. In this case, is mist or pollution or dust or stuff like that, okay? So in order to have corpuscular rays that fan out like that, you have to have a close light source. In this case, it's the sun, but the light source has to be close, really close to the obstruction. Okay, according to them, the sun is 93 million miles away. There's no way it will create this. And they say that's just an illusion. Like when you look down railroad tracks or a long hallway, it looks like the walls converge, all right? In order to do that, you have to be in line, you have to be in perfect alignment with the lines that are converging. When's the last time you were under corpuscular rays? And that's another interesting point, okay? When were the last time you were under corpuscular rays? Okay? You never seem to really be under them. It's really interesting. But you always see corpuscular rays from a distance. All right? So therefore, what they say is all about perspective. Like railroad tracks, it doesn't work. Perspective only works one way. Only. Unless you add in another phenomenon or environment like NASA does all the time. So then they can just make up stuff. You have here, it's kind of dark on this screen, but I did some Photoshop work to this Earth shot, the blue marble shot, and there's the word SEX in the clouds. Now I put some red lines on it to make it really obvious, but if you look at it, it actually says sex in the clouds. And this is an image that NASA put out. Now, this image here, people have done the same experiment hundreds of times. NASA has never recanted. They have never taken this away. Okay, they don't even comment on it because they don't care. Because most of the population is still asleep and still completely fooled. So they don't have to. So this is a joke on us. It's an insult. All right? There's no way that those clouds are going to say sex. Well, you can see bunnies in the clouds. Yeah, okay. Look at these clouds. They're hundreds of miles across when you see it from this angle. All right? There's no way it's going to say sex. It's just not possible. Next slide. Okay, now, all of those proofs that I showed you, that shows solid evidence of what Scripture says about our world. Now, let's go to the heliocentric model. Now, I mentioned the unholy Trinity, all right? Heliocentrism is a religion, and I'll describe that in a minute. But when I mean by Trinity, you have gravity, you have the cosmos, space, and you have the sun. That is the unholy Trinity of their religion, okay? Now, they say that this is real. This is one of the ways that they actually say it's real. They give you these images, okay? Now, I used to be a comic book fiend, okay? In addition to sci-fi and everything. I had collected 3,000 comic books. and Maria had to categorize them, and she put them all in categories and everything, and I had them all in the bags and all this stuff. So, major comic book theme. So, my thing is, they can't prove this. Now, I'm going to show why they can't, okay? But since they can't prove it, then that means it's not reality, but it is a really good story. Now, when I was in school, at 14, I was not a flat earther, but I did not believe in evolution. I did not believe in the Big Bang. I thought it was a hoot, okay? It was a great story, and I wasn't the best student, all right? So my instructor said, well, you need to learn this, and if you really learn this, we'll give you an A. I said, whoa, back up. If I learn this foolishness, if I learn this science, you give me an A? He said, yes. I got a deal. I became an expert at evolution and the Big Bang. Didn't believe a word of it. I thought it was absolute foolishness. But I'm like, you're gonna give me an A for this? I'm good. Okay? So according to them, this is real, but there's no evidence to back it up. So for me, it's more like a comic book. So I created this. First click. All right, this is gravitas. This is my character for gravity, okay? And I'll explain her in a minute. Next slide. This is cosmos, okay? Next one. And this is Helios. All right, now, some of you don't know, I'm an illustrator, that's what I do for a living. So I created these guys. All right, gravitas is a synonym for gravity. So gravity is very magical. They can't quantify it, they can't measure it, they can't control it, they can't mitigate it, yet it's real. Okay, matter of fact, they'll even say, Neil deGrasse Tyson will even say, we don't know what gravity is. Okay, yet it exists and it controls everything. Okay, so it's like magic. So I created this sorceress. She's gravitas. All right. So Cosmos. All right, or Cosmos. He's the character. The reason why I made him so big is because space is ever expanding and infinite. Okay, that's not too moron. Ever expanding, infinite. It can't keep up. Okay, come on. So, but that's what they say all the time. So I made him big, like Hulkish and all that. So then you have Helios, which is the sun. So without the sun being so big, it controls everything, right? So it seems to me that what they're talking about is more comic book stuff. And so here's their evidence to prove all of this is true. Next one. All right, so you have, they take pictures of the earth. Pick one, please. All right? They're all different. From year to year, they're all different. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, it's about perspective and all. Perspective does not change size relationships, okay? Perspective changes the distance between relationships. Now, yeah, you can actually, well, it does not change actual size. It changed the perception of size, okay? And besides, if you're taking a picture from 1,000,000 miles away, that's what they said. Basically, these are 2D images from that distance. So you're not going to have, South America's huge over here, it's tiny over here. Not going to happen. It will be the same size every single time. Now, okay, I grant you, you could have some color balance that's different, but this color balance is way off. Okay? In my world, you would look at this and say, oh, levels, and these levels. Okay, that's a horrible image. So basically, these are all illustrations or high altitude photographs that are put in the shape of a globe, which is, you can do that with Photoshop, or heck, you can do that with an app now. Okay, that's easy. All right, gravity. This is how they explain gravity. It's the fabric of space is being bent. All right, that's Einsteinian gravity. But here's a problem with that. So wait a minute, you said gravity is just a 2D fabric and it bends because of the gravity on the large sphere and all that? So wait a minute, I thought space was everywhere. So this is actually inaccurate based on their description. Space, this indentation should be all around, not just this little flat plane. Okay? So this is actually inaccurate based on their description. All right, you have this. When I was a kid, I used to look at the Hubble telescope and you'd say, wow, that's a really nice illustration. Oh, wait a minute, that's not an illustration, those are real places based on science. Okay? So I believed in my teachers because I liked them and I trusted them and I believe what they say. But there's no proof to back this up. Okay, this is truly an illustration. Someone drew that, okay, either digitally or with oil paints or acrylic or whatever medium. That is an illustration. Space in and of itself is a complete and total farce. Space can't exist. It's not possible. All right. I actually did a presentation on it. Space is a fascinating subject. It is so easy to shoot down. So easy. Then I give you all this. The heliocentric model really depends on people like me. Okay, people who have a creative eye that can illustrate the ideas that NASA and the rest of these people come up with. They depend on us heavily. All right. Here's a diagram that they give kids showing a chart of cosmic exploration. Okay, so they show all the different orbits and all this stuff and the different moons or these different planets and all this stuff, and they show you all the satellites. If you notice, whenever you see satellites, you only see them in two positions. You see them in the lab, and you see them as an illustration. You never see them floating in space. Isn't that interesting? Okay. You see them in NASA, when you get the guys with the clean uniforms, and they're working on it and everything. And these guys aren't liars. They are working on this thing to make it work in this place called space. Okay. And then they take that satellite and they put it away in a warehouse somewhere. All right. Mark Sargent did a show where someone sent him a letter and said that this guy worked at NASA. He designed satellites, and I never forgot this. And the guy designed satellites. He loved his job. He felt like he was changing the world and all that. Well, they wanted him to come to a warehouse. NASA, somebody wanted him to come to a warehouse. I think this is a setup. And the guy ended up going to a warehouse. And the guy at the warehouse said, well, "Why is he here? What's he doing here?" He said, "Well, I don't know. The guy in charge said he should be here." He saw all these satellites stored in this warehouse. Now, he considered those satellites his babies. Okay, so he looked at the identification plate, and he had all the ID numbers memorized, and every single satellite, all 5 of them that he worked on, were in a warehouse. They never went up in space. It changed his life. He became a recluse. He became a drunk. Where before he was a fantastic father, he became a distant father. And on his deathbed, he told his son the story. And then his son realized what happened. Okay? But these don't exist. Not in space. They exist in a warehouse someplace or down in the ocean. Bottom of the ocean. But this is what they show our children to convince them that this stuff is real. Next. Okay, the Big Bang. They can't prove the Big Bang. So what they do is they use graphics and they use math. Anyone understand this? Oh, no. That's the point, okay? They do this so that you will not understand it. This is a math equation of gravitational theory. This talks about the gravity of a black hole, okay? So this is one of the primary evidences that they use to prove what they say. Math does not prove reality. Math helps understand reality, it helps quantify reality, but it does not prove it. Math is not reality. It's just a tool. But it's a tool you can manipulate like a picture. Very much like a picture. Okay? This is their idea of corpuscular rays. I did a whole presentation on this, but they say that corpuscular rays are actually horizontal. They come down, they're horizontal, but what you see is a distortion, okay? It's a perspective illusion, and they said this is what corpuscular rays really look like. Actually, these aren't corpuscular rays; these are actually shadows. Okay, so actually the complete opposite. These are shadows of clouds from a high altitude camera, and the sun is in a certain position that they're shining on the clouds and causing these long shadows. And by the way, you need a close light source in order for that to happen. So they just kind of shot themselves in the foot on that one. But nobody sees it. Oh, okay, those are horizontal rays. They aren't light rays at all. Those are shadows. But their science has a mantra, and I'll tell you what that mantra is in a second. Next slide. Okay, so click once.
It will be a great moment of introspection for humanity if you're the person who finds that one little fossilized flower on Mars.
Okay, so you have Hatfield. What's his last? Chris Hatfield. Okay, he's a never-ending source of amusement for me. he's doing a master class. Anybody familiar with master classes? It's a series of classes of legendary professionals in a multitude of fields. If you ever want to learn anything really high end, just go there and learn it. I mean, master classes are awesome. You have to, it's a subscription thing, but it's worth it, okay? I don't work for them, but it's just a fantastic concept. But he's actually an astronaut telling people how they can be an astronaut. And so he's telling young kids, like these two young ladies here, how they can be the first person to find a flower on Mars. Okay? Yet they have not proven that they've ever been to Mars. By the way, and this is a rough statement, all astronauts are liars. All of them. It is a job description. In order to be an astronaut, you have to be a liar. Now, that may sound like a rough statement, but think about it. They're saying that they are professionals at going to a place called space. They've never proven it exists. According to common sense and a lack of empirical evidence, space actually does not exist. But they say they go there all the time. They say they've been there, and some of them, you see them on the videos, that's where we are. Yet space doesn't exist. That means, ergo, all astronauts are liars. It's part of their job. Okay? So if any of you viewers get mad at that and want to come back with me on that, give me some evidence. Give me some evidence to show that they're actually telling the truth. So I can say that I live in Narnia. I live in Narnia, and Maria will tell you we have a castle there, and Maria has what's it? You have your favorite unicorn? Yeah. And so I can tell you I've been there. I can show you pictures and everything. Yet I will never take you there. Okay? I can never show you anything I can never show you a real photograph of it. Okay? But yet I say I actually lived there. That would make me a liar. Okay? So I'm saying the same thing with astronauts. Next clip. Now this is, I thought I edited that down, but this is the SpaceX launch, and it's a real joke because they're showing all of this stuff that's happening. Supposedly this rocket launches and then it lands horizontally. Okay, so it launches up. Okay, it goes supposedly go out into space. It never shows it going into space, by the way. Have you ever seen a rocket actually go from the atmosphere into space? I have, but only in sci-fi. And they do it really well, okay? NASA never shows a rocket going into space, ever, okay? So then supposedly it goes into space, it comes back down, and it lands horizontally. Isn't that interesting? Just like those old 1950s sci-fi movies, where they have a rocket landing completely horizontally on it. Okay, just that, I found that interesting, very nostalgic. We won't watch that whole thing. I thought I edited that down. Next clip. Okay, this is the ISS. There's so many things wrong with this. Okay, that's a whole presentation. But in order to live in space, you have to protect yourself against all the different ways you can die in space, because you can't mitigate space. Space is a horrible place. It's a lot like hell, actually, when you really look at it. Okay, it's a lot like hell. And so the ISS does not exist. So if anybody believes it does, please, evidence. Okay, they don't exist. They can't exist because they have done nothing to keep themselves safe in the most horrific environment known to man. They even okay, like for instance, if you want to be a race car driver, you need to learn how to navigate I'm not a sports person, but you have to learn how to navigate the raceway. Okay, you have to learn how to use the car. You have to learn the mechanics of the car. And so the best way to learn that is in your armchair at home with a pizza and a controller using a simulation, right? And then after that, you can actually go get in the car and race, right? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. All right, but where do the astronauts practice? Underwater. Then they say what helps us with the lack of gravity. Gravity is the least of their problems. You have debris going around the Earth. I don't have an image here. You have debris going around the Earth at ballistic speeds. Okay, first you gotta protect yourself against that. Then you have to deal with the horrific radiation. Then you have to deal with the vacuum of itself. And space isn't just nothing. It's a vacuum measured in increments called torr. It's 10 to the minus 7 torr, meaning it's not just zero, it's a sucking vacuum. And it will literally tear you apart, okay? And the lack of pressure in space, because your body has a certain pressure, a PSI pressure. Space has no pressure. So the reason why you don't explode in this room is because the room has air pressure, your body has pressure going out, the room's going in, so it keeps you all together. When you're in space, there's no pressure. So the pressure in your body just keeps going out, and boom, okay? They have nothing to protect them against that. And I'm sorry, spacesuits are a complete farce. They're made of 7 layers of cloth and mylar, okay? And they're supposed to stop 10 to the minus 7 torr. They should die a horrible death immediately, yet they don't, okay? So it's ridiculous. Spacesuits don't exist. The ISS should be made like a submarine. Have you ever been to the USS Cod in downtown Cleveland? Okay, it's a completely a restored submarine. If you want to know what the ISS should look like, go to the USS Cod downtown Cleveland. That's what the ISS should look like. Yet it doesn't. Okay, so it can't exist. Next clip. Let's see, what's this? Oh, okay. This is what they're trying to do is supposedly they took the Hubble telescope and they zoomed in on this distant galaxy. Okay, so they're zooming in on this distant galaxy. First of all, Hubble is not a zoom lens. Okay, it's what's called a fixed focal length. It does not have multiple focal lengths. But anyway, you zoom in. See this little square right here? Okay, that's an image they just put in there, and they're simply moving in close to it using the editing software. Okay, so now I did some editing job here just to show you what's going on. So these labels, that's fine, but look at this square here. Okay, and so they're zooming in more. That shouldn't be there. Okay, so then you got another square here. So they're zooming in more, and then you have this square here. So they're basically one image on top of another image, and they're really high resolution images, so you can zoom in and you're basically enlarging the image. So what they're saying is, this is what the Hubble's doing. No, what are we talking about? 4 images there? So you got 4 images of some different specks of light that somebody painted or something. I don't know how they constructed it, but different specks of light. And they took these images and they did what's called compositing, and they put them layer on top of layer and simply zoomed in on it. I could do that with this. No problem. You can do that with your phone nowadays, okay? Next clip. Okay, so back to our heroes here. So my point is this. If you can't prove a theory, then it remains a theory. If you try to push that theory as reality, now you're talking about fantasy. And when you really try to push it like on our children, now you're lying. Okay? It's that simple. I'm saying just look at it for what it is. That's all. And I see comic book characters. I see total fantasy. Okay? Because they can't prove it. That makes it fantasy. Next click. Okay, so click. So believe what we say, not what you see. That is the secret mantra of science. Okay, of heliocentrism primarily, but a bunch of other sciences too. Not all science is bad. Like engineering. Engineering is a very clean science because you try it, you design it, you try it, oh, that doesn't work, try it again. You don't just say, oh, it works because this theory says it should. Just go mind your own business. No, engineering is a very clean science. One of our sons is a scientist. He's an engineer. Thank God. Okay, it's a very clean science, so I don't have to talk about that. So believe what we say, not what you see. That's their secret mantra. Okay, and it plays out in everything they teach. Next. Okay. Program perception is comfortable, but reality is priceless. All right, so our goal here is to try to get beyond the programming. Yes, there's a heap of lies. First of all, accept the fact that there are lies. Okay, yes, people lie. This is a horrible. The world is full of evil people. Okay, and they lie. It's true. All right. Our goal is to figure out what those lies are, so that we can embrace what truth is. That's why I stick with Scripture, because it's proven itself to be a bastion of truth. Next. So, a theory backed up with empirical evidence is called, next click, truth. So, if the theory is not backed up with empirical evidence, okay, solid evidence that you can explore and repeat over and over and over again, if it's not backed up with that, then it remains a theory, and if you keep pushing it, now you're going down fantasy and a barefaced lie. So I'm saying just keep your mind open toward the obvious, what you see. That's why I have the corpuscular rays there, okay? That's not possible, that shouldn't happen, okay? So keep your eyes open and don't just accept what they say just because they have a white coat and a degree, all right? Totally irrelevant. I can say the same thing. Most of you take pictures with your phones, right? How dare you? I have a 33-year pedigree in photography. I can shoot anything. You shouldn't be shooting anything, okay? I'm the one that can shoot pictures. I'll tell you when you can shoot. All right? That's what scientists say, okay? We have the pedigree. We have the degree. We have the knowledge. You have nothing. Shut your mouth and listen to us. And if you go against us, then they're going to go against you and call you fool, ridicule you, and stuff like that. Okay? So listen to the brain that Yahweh has given you. God has given you the ability to think and to reason. Use that, and you'll come out on top. That's what you'll get if you use it. Thank you.
Great, Matt.
So what we're gonna do right now, I'm gonna turn the lights back on, and, what we're gonna do is we're gonna, go ahead and start some questions. Yeah, that's still done. So, yeah, Michael, if you wanna maybe you can grab a chair, or you can stand, whatever you'd like to do.
I'll stand.
Okay,
I sit all
he
the
is
time.
57, so.
No, I'm just trying to say that.
Hey, I could say.
I can still do more push-ups than my son.
I said, like I said, he's the better half of Flat Out Insights. Only on the show. I'm gonna leave it to Michael. Michael's gonna take all the questions here today. If anybody else has something they wanna chime in on,
Yes,
any
please,
of the
any
veterans.
feedback,
Yeah, go ahead.
any
We can do that,
experiences
so-
you want to share.
What exactly is the way this guy that passes by with, it's not the international space?
If you use a camera with the proper lens, you can actually see that light, and you can it's actually shaped like the space station. It's shaped just like it. I don't know exactly what that is. Clearly, they have some thing that's flying around up there on a timeline, and you have to have an app that tells you, because I have that app that tells you when it's coming, and you can shoot it, and it looks like the ISS. Obviously, it's some type of aircraft or something that's flying around up there, okay? But there's no evidence space exists, so.
High altitude airplanes on spy planes, and they have extra like appendages that stick out, so that you can make it look like not a plane, make it look like something like that. And it's flying at such high altitude, I don't know, something just floating by.
Yeah, it's just something that's floating by, but it basically looks like the ISS.
And the lower it actually is in altitude, it doesn't have to be moving all that fast either.
No, not at all, no.
The viewing area is too small for it to go by the altitude they say it is.
It has no influence.
Any other questions?
What I was gonna share on that is, you know, the heights.
Your son who's the engineer, what is his opinion on flat earth?
I spoke to him a little bit about it, and he kind of interrupted me and said, "I don't care." That was it. Our
Does
son
he
is
know you
very
speak on?
no, probably freak him out if he did. But he's very hyper focused on what he does. Our other son is also technically inclined, and he's asking questions. So he's asking questions. So we just recently talked a little bit. I told him about the moon. And he said, "That's not possible." I said, "Experiment yourself. Okay, either it is or it isn't." So he's asking questions.
And if you guys didn't know, the ISS is, it's about 248 miles up. So if you think about it like this, when we see a commercial airplane flying, they're up about 6 miles. And what size do they look when they're up about 6 miles? They look like a little dot, a little ant, right?
Right.
So that little light that's going across is 250 miles high. And it's actually almost looks, if you've seen it, it almost looks even a little bigger than an airplane does. I don't know if you've ever seen it, when it comes by. So watch the website and go out, you know, when it comes by. I'm sure we'll all post
When
it.
something comes by.
Something.
It's amazing the
But
coincidence
this is
of how much it
200
looks like an airplane, right?
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah,
well, it's
yeah, right.
250 miles up there. However, I'm sure you guys all know that, it's only 30% larger than a commercial plane. It's about 100 yards, a little over 100 yards. And, you know, an airplane, a commercial, you know, plane is about 70 yards. So, you know, that just doesn't make any sense, right? You know, just something 30% larger, 250 miles up, we shouldn't even be able to see it, you know?
No, we should. The Sputnik, remember Sputnik? When Sputnik first launched, and this shows you how the population is really food. When Sputnik was first launched, it's the size of a basketball. As it was made of this shiny chrome material, it's the size of a basketball. It was at the height of the ISS. And the news media said, "Go out, you can see Sputnik." Okay? Now, you can't see a basketball 250 miles away. It's not, I don't care what it's made of. It's not happening. Yet, you see all these videos, all these people out in the neighborhood. There it is. Okay? Because they believe what the media told them, and their brain did the rest of it. But there's no way you can see a basketball 250 miles away. It's not gonna happen. So, that cracked me up. I thought, you know, why is it doing that?
That's what I'm looking at.
Any other questions or comments?
Thing down.
Yes.
Yeah, I have two, I'll let you take a crack at the first one.
Okay.
You have to say. Eclipses, what is your knowledge, do you have a way of, that this fits in the model?
Eclipse does not fit the Helios, what they describe eclipse doesn't work. Because there's so many times you've seen